This video includes material of an adult's nature. There'll be a heck of a lot of swearing, and we'll be drinking a heck of a lot of alcohol. That means if you're a child, go to bed, go! Viewer discretion is advised. The Manderley. This is really good. It's a little bit fruity, a little bit bitter. Love the orange in it. It's very British too. There's gin in here, and there's a secret ingredient called Pimm's, which we will talk a little bit about. Yes, the Manderley. I think this would be a really good warm weather drink for like a lawn party. You know, where you're all out on the lawn with your friends. It's hot outside. You're playing croquet and badminton. You're eating little finger sandwiches. Actually, I take that back. I have no idea what any of that is like. Honestly, I live in Arizona. We don't have lawns. And there's too much sun, so we don't really go outside. Yeah, no, I burn too easily. Never mind. This is a perfect drink to drink inside while you're watching my favorite suspense movie of all time, Rebecca. Yes, Rebecca is a film from 1940, starring Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine. It is directed by Alfred Hitchcock. And it is named after the book by the same title, by Daphne du Maurier. And it's one of my favorite books of all time. I think I've read it 6 or 7 times now, which probably means I need a help group if I ever decide to read it again. I think that's just too many times for any book. Sorry. It's an excellent film. It's very gloomy, very atmospheric, everything we expect from a good Hitchcock. And of course, it has the great story from the novel. It's very faithful to the novel too, which I love. But I am remiss, of course, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Catherine, and I am your mistress of mixology here at Morbid Mixology. I am the Baroness of the Bar, etc., and so forth. Yes, I am wearing an evil princess tiara today. I will be accepting no questions on that right now. But the question you should be asking is not why I'm wearing one, but why you aren't wearing one. Life hack. Always wear a tiara. Anyway, Rebecca. So, this is a tale of gothic suspense. We have a big house on the Cornwall coast, and this is actually a haunted house. And this isn't maybe how some people categorize this film, but Manderley is up and center haunted, okay? Now, we're not talking poltergeist, right? There aren't any zombies coming up from the basement or the pool. It's still very much haunted, though, by the title character, Rebecca. Now, before this novel starts, Rebecca, she sadly passed away. She went on a boating trip one night in the middle of a storm, as you do, and she ended up drowning. Her husband had to identify her body, and everyone's very sad because she was beautiful, smart, accomplished, talented, absolutely insufferable, just from that description alone. I mean, we would all probably hate her ass, honestly. But by all measure, everybody loves her, including her husband. So when we say Rebecca is actually haunting the house, what do we mean? If she's not actually, throwing objects at people, what is she doing? Well, the fact is, her presence is absolutely everywhere. Her stationery is still in the drawers. Her clothes are still in her closet. At one point, someone takes out a handkerchief and it has her initials on it. So she's absolutely everywhere. No one has taken any pains to remove her at all. So she is still very much a presence in the house. And that's how she's able to get in everyone's heads. The first resident we're going to talk about is Maxim de Winter. Maxim is, of course, her charming widower, who, as we start the novel, he's actually in Monte Carlo. And other characters supply nice information and exposition for him, which is very useful because he's very taciturn and grumpy and kind of an asshole. He doesn't want to talk about himself too much, which, total dillweed, but other characters tell us that he was madly in love with Rebecca. He's so verklempt that she's gone. and that he's there trying to forget her. It's all very sad. None of this ends up being the truth, by the way. Spoiler alert. But that's what we're given, essentially. Our second character that we want to talk about is actually an unnamed girl who serves as the narrator for the book, as well as kind of our way of viewing the film as well. Now, it's interesting that she doesn't have a name. That's obviously for a reason. So why would the author not give her protagonist a name? The fact is, she's very young. When we meet her, they'd say that she's just past school age. So we're talking maybe 18, 19, maybe 20 if we're being very generous. She has less than no life experience. She is more naive than just about anyone you could imagine. I mean, there are newborn puppies that seem to know more about life than she does. She also has really no interests. She sketches a little bit and she reads. That's it. She is basically a blank slate. So the fact that she's blank in name actually kind of suits her. Now, she doesn't actually get a name until she marries Maxim. Spoiler alert, they get married after a whirlwind, gross courtship. They get married and she becomes Mrs. De Winter, and that's her new name. Now, of course, this puts her at odds with the fact that there was just another Mrs. De Winter, who is still very much in Manderley, Rebecca. I think it's the fact that she takes on this name that actually allows Rebecca to haunt her. So, she and her husband make their way to Manderley. And this is where things really go wrong. They've had their courtship, they get married in the south of France, they have a honeymoon in France and Italy, and everything's going well. And then when they drive up to Manderley, we see it in the film, it starts to rain. Now, we all know what that means, right? Shit has hit the fan. Things are not good here. Rain is bad. So they go up to the house and it's raining. And this is where we meet the third most important character in this work. Mrs. Danvers, as we will soon learn, is the apex predator of Manderley. And she smells absolute victim on this new Mrs. De Winter. And she hones in on it right there. Mrs. De Winter. Totally gets her. And is not nice to her at all. And of course, we learn why later. We are told by Maxim's sister, who becomes another anti-exposition for us, says that Mrs. Danvers was absolutely crazy about Rebecca. Which means she's very protective of her and her memories. We learn that she keeps all of Rebecca's former rooms closed up just the way it was when she died. Not creepy at all. She has her brushes laid out just as she needs them, has her nightgown laid out on the bed. Not disturbing in the slightest. Now, of course, we don't know what color of crazy she actually was for Rebecca. Are we talking about a romantic interest or just obsession? We're never really told, but in any ways, it's not good, okay? Not good at all. Because Mrs. Danvers, she ends up being kind of a... No, not kind of. She's really a malevolent spirit that joins Rebecca in the haunting of the house. She makes life absolutely miserable for this new Mrs. De Winter, who, by the way, is not prepared in any way to be a mistress of a big house. And unfortunately, Mrs. De Winter doesn't really start to assert herself at all until later when she decides to throw a party. She decides that she wants to throw a costume party. And this is something that Rebecca used to throw back in the day at Manderley, and something that Manderley was really well known for in the surrounding villages. Everyone is looking forward to this because they can dress up and see Manderley. So she decides they're going to have a party, and they're going to wear costumes. And she tells everyone that she's not telling them what her costume will be. No, she will make it herself, she will figure it out, and then she will show up at the party, and everyone will be dazzled. Well, unfortunately, she doesn't choose it herself. After some starts and fits, she actually takes advice from Mrs. Danvers as to what she should wear. And this is where things go wrong. Because, of course, Mrs. Danvers is very much of the mindset that she shouldn't even be there. So she's there to make her life fucking miserable. And that's precisely what she does in the form of this costume. And after the costume... After she shows up, this party becomes like the worst party ever thrown in fictiondom. I mean, maybe a close second to Carrie's prom, but honestly, it's a pretty close second. But it's actually interrupted by something that happens that's actually worse, and shit completely hits the fan. And that's when the truth comes out about Rebecca and what happened the night she died. And this is when our formerly unnamed Mrs. De Winter has to actually step forward and be an adult for the first time. And her husband actually has to treat her like an adult. So it's kind of an interesting change of events that happens there. But I'm not going to tell you what the ending will be. I want you to go and watch it and find out for yourself. I think that's part of the fun with that. But the fun will continue for us here because I'm going to show you how to make your very own Manderley now. So let's go to the bar. And here we are in the bar where all of the magic happens. We are going to make our Manderley now. We're going to start off by talking about the secret ingredient, that most British of the words, Pimm's. And this is Pimm number 1. Yes, there are other Pimms, although I don't think we get them in the United States as much. But Pimm's is an old, venerable liquid from the UK. It was made starting in 1840. It was actually made as a digestive aid to eating oysters. There was a guy who was Pimm's who actually owned oyster houses where you could go in and get served Pimm's. Now today, it's most popularly known in Pimm's cups, which sadly we don't see very often in bars here in the U.S. I had several while I was in England, and they are delightful. There's recipes all over the internet. Definitely go try it out. We're going to be using some Pimm's today, and I'm very excited about that. To up the Britishness just that extra bit, we're going to put in some gin. This is Bombay Dry Gin. This is a nice floral light gin. I really like this a lot. I think it's going to add some great flavors to our drink. Then we're going to go over here. We're going to use some triple sec, which is going to give our drink a nice orangey, fruity flavor. Then we're going to go with the Fee Brothers Cherry Bitters. Got a couple of dashes of that in here as well. Alright, before we get started with anything, I want to go ahead and chill my coupe glass. So let me just pull those aside for a second. I want to make sure that the glass is nicely chilled before we start. Clean hands, I promise. I swear. Alright, so that's nicely iced down. You can also put a little water in there too. Kind of stir it up. It'll get it all cool. But this is definitely the way you want to start your drink. Just to go ahead and chill your glass. Now, we are also going to need some lime juice. And we're going to cut a little rind off of an orange to give it just that little extra. I'm going to push these aside here for you. Get a big knife so you can scare your friends. Or don't, I'm not your mom. Go ahead and do some fresh lime for this because we're not savages here. We're not. You can use bottled if you don't like your friends. I'm assuming you like your friends. I like my friends generally. I'm going to put this in our squeezer. This big honkin' thing. And we're actually going to get 1 ounce of lime juice. So we've got a nice big lime for that. So, we'll do some violence onto our lime here. Trying not to squirt ourselves in the eye while we're doing that. Pro tip, don't do that. Doesn't feel good. It's not good for your mascara either. Right. Dump some out on the side there. Give that another squeeze. Right. Nice and squished. Do our second half here. Nice and juicy. Love the smell of fresh lime too. Smells better than that bottled stuff for sure. Right. So now we have our nice lime here. Got 1 ounce. I'm going to drop it in my mixing glass. Ta-da! Alright, let's get some nice gin in here. We're going to start with 1 ounce of this Bombay gin. And we're also going to put an ounce of the Pimms in as well. Lovely herbal scent. This is also has gin in it as well. That's the base of it. There we go. Then, I'm going to continue with the triple sec. I'm going to put in 1 ounce. And then, for our bitters, I'm just going to go ahead and give this a nice shake. I'll just do a couple of drops. There we go. Alright, now, I'm going to take the same ice that I used in this. We're going to save it. Put it in here in our mixing glass. See, our glass is still nice and chilled. Dump the lovely alcohol in here. We're going to give us a little pat for good luck, so it won't fall off and fly everywhere. Then we're going to give this a good shake. The nicest sound in the world, really. Alright, we're going to strain this into our coupe glass. Pretty, huh? Alright, now we have our final element. We are going to try not to cut ourselves while we cut off a little slice of the rind. Now this has been washed. You can also do a wheel if you want to be extra fancy. And you can cut this into whatever shape you feel is appropriate. You know, dirty things, whatever works for you. Alright. Got this nice peel now. I am squeezing this rind to express the oils into the drink. And I'm going to run this over the rim as well. And then I'm going to dump that in. Isn't that pretty? Let's give it a taste. Cheers. That is really good. Especially love that orange at the very end. It's absolutely perfect. I think this is the perfect beverage for you to sit down and enjoy Rebecca with. Enjoy the Manderley. Make it for your friends. Make it for your enemies, too. They'll like it, I think. Anyway, that does it for Morbid Mixology for this week. Hope you had a good time. Let me know in the comments if you tried the Manderley. Let me know what you think of the movie, too. But, otherwise, don't drink anything I wouldn't drink. Drink your water. Be nice. And we'll see you here next time. Toodles.